Quick one before we start. If you're a birth worker and you don't know what your next steps in your business are, whether you're just getting started or you've been at this a while, I've made a free quiz for you. It shows you what stage your birth biz is actually at and what to focus on next, without any generic advice. It'll only take you a minute to complete, and the link is in the show notes. Right, let's get into today's episode. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Niamh Cassidy, business coach and mentor for birth and postpartum workers. So today what I want to talk to you about is naming your business or rebranding your business, because I have just gone through a rebrand and I'm going to tell you all about why I rebranded and how you can come up with your first business name if that is the point that you're at, or if you're feeling that the name that you gave yourself isn't really suiting anymore, how to go about a rebrand as well. I'm going to tell you a bit about my journey in naming my businesses and then also about the rebrand. And what I'm really hoping you will get from this is some reassurance if you're stuck on a name about how to move forward, permission to evolve if you're ready to change your brand or your name, and a clearer way of thinking about branding versus SEO and all the other things that come up when we are naming our businesses. Okay, so let's dive in. When I was naming my first business, which was my antenatal education business, so at the time, the only service I was providing was antenatal education. And I wanted to come up with something that would be easy to say and that would also evolve with me. So if I was to add more services, that it wouldn't just box me into just antenatal education. So I thought really long and hard, and I was trying to come up with things that sounded good and that could encompass all of those things, because I was thinking that maybe one day I would add lactation services as well and possibly other services too. So what I was trying to do was pick a name that could grow with me. So in the end, I settled on My Baby Beginnings, and I liked is it onomatopoeia where the letters repeat, so the baby beginnings. I liked how that rolled off the tongue, and I picked some brand colors that were kind of like an orangey pink and kind of like a teal green as well, because I thought they were nice and soft and that they also went with kind of babies and all things pregnancy and birth related. So when I came up with that, I spent a really long time coming up with it, and I worked with my sister who's a graphic designer as well to try and come up with the colors, with the name, with things that would sound right, and as I said, that would grow with me. So I was thinking long term as well. Now, if I was to go back, I'm not sure I would have gone that way, because there is this constant tug between having a brand name, which My Baby Beginnings is, versus an SEO-friendly name. So something that's going to pop up really easily if someone is Googling antenatal classes, say, for example. So sometimes now I think I might have done something more like Antenatal Classes Dublin, if that was available, or Niamh's Antenatal Classes Dublin, because they would come up much easier in SEO. So when you're starting out, maybe an SEO name would have been the better way to go. But I think there's pros and cons with both of them. So SEO names can be easier to rank, as simple as that. You know, you search for them, they come up a lot easier. But brand names can be more flexible and more memorable long term. So when you think of brands, you're more likely to name a brand that has a brand name rather than, oh, go to Antenatal Classes Dublin, you know? So it might be more, oh, go to My Baby Beginnings, she's brilliant. So it kind of resonates more with the person or with the brand itself. But I suppose for yourselves, what I'd really like to say is there isn't one right answer. And a lot of it depends on your context, your goals, and the capacity that you have at the time to come up with a name as well. So if you are at the start of naming your business, some of the things that you might be thinking about are, if this business grows, will the name box me in? So if you're planning on adding more services, or you think you might add more services, try and avoid names that lock you into one very specific service if you know already that you want more. And when we're thinking about SEO as well, you know, it's not just the name of the company or the service that you provide that gives you SEO. You can get SEO from your website titles, from your blog, from your social media, from how you position yourself with different topics. So it doesn't all have to go into the brand name either. But the most important thing to remember is that whatever name you pick, it's not a lifetime sentence. You can choose now whatever is easy, whatever works for you now, and then you can change it later, because that's exactly what I'm doing. So now let's talk about naming of the collective. So my coaching and business mentoring business, I named the Pregnancy and Postnatal Entrepreneurs Collective, which is also the name of this podcast. And when I was coming up with this name, I was trying to encompass everything. So I really wanted to show that it wasn't just for one type of birth worker. So it wasn't just for antenatal educators, or it wasn't just for lactation consultants, or it wasn't just for doulas. I wanted to show that it was about all of the people who work in this space, and all of the people who work in the space who are self-employed or who consider themselves entrepreneurs. I also wanted it to feel like a place to come together. So that's where the collective idea came from as well. I wanted it to be a space where people learned and shared and came together in community and not competition. So I really was trying to include everyone. I was also trying to sound professional. I suppose I had a bit of fear about not being taken seriously. So I felt that pregnancy and postnatal entrepreneurs was a little more professional than, say, birth workers. And I was really trying to get it right. And the name came from care and good intentions and everything that I wanted to do and to put out into the world. But in reality, it also came from fear of exclusion and judgment. I was afraid that people wouldn't take me seriously. I was afraid that it would look funny or it would look bad. And I also didn't want to put my name in the name. I was afraid of putting myself out there, so much so that people would be like, what, Niamh thinks she's a business coach now? So I was definitely afraid of putting me front and center of the brand. And then even when I was coming up with the colors and the logo at first, so it was this kind of the same sort of green I was using with My Baby Beginnings, very similar anyway, and these real neutral tones, because again, I was just really afraid of standing out too much. I was afraid that I would push people away, and I wanted it to be somewhere where kind of everyone felt that, oh, that might be at least okay. Over time, as I was posting, as I was getting more comfortable, in particular, the colours just didn't really work for me. They're lovely colours, they're neutral, they're pleasant, I like wearing them. But I was evolving as a person, my confidence was growing, how I was working was growing, and really my own personal style was growing as well. And I started to realise that at the start, first, it was the brand colours weren't working for me and the brand fonts weren't working for me. So I decided I would move more into things that I'm a bit more comfortable, like pink. And I picked kind of a nice, bright but calm sort of pink that I transitioned the brand colours into first. And then as I became more confident again, I suppose, and as I became more comfortable in my own skin, the podcast was growing. I was finding my own voice. That kind of lighter pink just didn't really do it for me. And it was really the hot pink that I wanted to go for, because that was just, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel excited. I think it's bright. I think it's energetic, and it's just very me. And I do have a lot of clothes that are that colour. I remember one of my colleagues saying to me, Niamh, what percentage of your wardrobe is actually pink? I would say now it's probably about 40%. I do have lots of other colours in my wardrobe, probably mostly black as the other colour, but there are other colours too. I promise I do wear different clothes, but definitely pink was my thing. So I transitioned the colours to the hot pink, and then I transitioned to a more kind of fun font. So I changed to the Atma font, which I found much more fun. And then I have a really plain font as well, which I enjoy using too. But one of the big things that was coming up for the Pregnancy and Postnatal Entrepreneurs Collective is that it's really hard to say. It's really hard to remember. It doesn't really fit on a name badge when I go to networking events, and it was impossible to shorten. So when I was first trying to shorten it, I was thinking Pregnancy and Postnatal Entrepreneurs Collective, okay, PPEC. But we were just coming out of COVID, and PPE had a totally different connotation, so I didn't want to call it PPEC. And so then I was thinking PEC, but that just sounds crap. So I couldn't really find ways to make it work. I would often refer to the business as the collective, but there's lots of businesses that have collective in their name, and it just didn't really round up what I was doing. So what had been happening anyway in the meantime is a lot of my events that I was running, a lot of the workshops that I was running, they kind of had this Birth Biz theme going through them. So I had the Birth Biz Bootcamp, the Birth Biz Breakthrough. And again, we've got those B's going together, which I really like. And just a lot of what I was doing and talking about ended up being about Your Birth Biz. And while I was still a bit nervous that Birth Biz might not feel like it includes breastfeeding workers and postnatal workers, at the same time, I do think people are intelligent enough and grown up enough now to realize that I do encompass more than just the traditional idea of what a birth worker is, which might be an antenatal educator or a birth doula, but also that obviously I'm working with postnatal doulas, with lactation consultants, with breastfeeding supporters, and everyone in between as well. So as I was thinking about, am I going to do this? Am I going to make this my rebrand? Something that was coming up for me a lot was, well, does this mean that the collective was a failure? Does this mean that it wasn't, that I did something wrong? And really, if you're thinking about rebranding, it really doesn't mean that you got anything wrong. It just means that you are evolving. It just means that you've learned more, or maybe you've got greater clarity in what you're doing. And that's really what it felt like for me. As my clarity around what this business was going to be started to grow, as my confidence in myself as this business owner started to grow, I felt more ready to step into something that felt more true to me. And rebranding isn't unusual. It's something that a lot of businesses go through. So really don't overthink it if you feel that it's time to evolve, if you feel that it's time to change, because many big sustainable businesses evolve their names or their offers or their positioning over time, and you can too. So I am officially moving all of my services under Your Birth Biz. So I've already had the Your Birth Biz membership, and I suppose that's kind of where I started to feel into that name a lot, and it really started to feel comfortable for me and work for me. But I was thinking, would I name the whole rebrand as Your Birth Biz Collective? But again, it felt kind of difficult to say and a bit like it didn't make sense. Your Birth Biz Collective. It just didn't have that rhyming feature that I like. So everything is going to come under Your Birth Biz now. And for me, part of the reasons is that it's short, it's memorable, it rolls off the tongue, it's aligned with how I speak already and how I was branding my offers. And just to say again, it does really include everybody. It's not just for birth workers, it is for postpartum professionals and breastfeeding workers as well. And it is just a shorthand to cover all of us. And I think this is a really important bit for me to say here. Your Birth Biz isn't just a shorter name or a nicer brand or easier to say. It really reflects what this work has become for me and what I care most about now. Your Birth Biz exists because I've seen firsthand just how many brilliant, skilled, and deeply caring birth and postpartum professionals are struggling behind the scenes. Not because you're not good at your jobs, but because no one ever taught you how to run a business that actually supports you and your family as well as your clients. So much of the business advice that is aimed at us is either completely generic or actively at odds with how we want to work. Hustle harder, work more, scale away from clients, burn yourself out now and rest later, if ever. And that just doesn't sit right with me. Your Birth Biz is about building a business that's ethical, values-led, and sustainable. A business where you can be paid fairly for your work, set boundaries without guilt, and stay in this work long term because you're not exhausted, resentful, or constantly worried about money. I know that most of you aren't looking to get rich or get rich quick, but what you want is stability in doing the work that you love. And I know that you want support that actually understands the realities of birth work, the emotional labour, and the care-based professions that we work in. And that's where I have encompassed everything that now sits under Your Birth Biz. And what I want for it is that it is the go-to platform for anyone at any stage of their building their business journey in this kind of work. Under the umbrella of Your Birth Biz, we have my one-to-one coaching for people who are ready for that really intensive, deep growth and work. We have the Your Birth Biz membership, which is really helpful to everybody, whether you're starting out or you're further on, but you just need that little bit of extra community and that little bit of extra support and learning. And of course, I have my Nest program, which is my inner circle program that runs once a year with just 8 participants, weekly group coaching. And we really, really come together and grow and learn from each other to really build that business of your dreams. And obviously also I have the podcast, which for now I'm maintaining the Pregnancy and Postnatal Collective name. And I've decided to do that for a couple of reasons. One is that that's what it's been called, and I want to maintain some of the connections to the old brand, but also what it does encompass, the podcast is evolving as well. And I think the Pregnancy and Postnatal Entrepreneurs Collective really helps show that the podcast is about business growth for pregnancy and postnatal entrepreneurs. And also I'm going to start bringing in some panel episodes where I'm going to bring together a collective of birth workers to talk about different topics. And also now I've rebranded our free discussion group. It's staying the Pregnancy and Postnatal Entrepreneurs Collective for now as well, but it's now a discussion group for all things got to do with building your business, your mindset in working in this space. So those two things that remain under the collective are in conjunction with Your Birth Biz. So they still are under the Your Birth Biz brand. And also I will continue to be doing my free and paid workshops. I will continue to be doing speaking events, in being on other people's podcasts. And also something I will be bringing to the platform soon is on-demand workshops as well. So if you just need help in one particular topic, that you can pay for and get that workshop on that particular topic that you need. So that really is why I have decided on the rebrand to Your Birth Biz, the process that I've gone through for doing it, and just say I am so excited about what is to come. I am ready for this to be the platform for birth and postpartum workers. This is exactly what I want to be able to support people, to be able to bring you all together, to make sure that people are not leaving the industry. I do not want you to be leaving the industry. I know there are so many birth workers out there who are leaving the industry because they feel that they can't make it work financially, or they're putting in too much time for not enough return. And I don't want that to happen to anyone who wants to do this work. So thank you all for coming on this amazing ride with me, and I hope you continue to do so. And if you are thinking about naming your business or in changing the name of your business to fit who you are now, just ask yourself a couple of questions. Does this feel expansive or does it feel restrictive? Are you holding on to it because it truly works, or because changing it feels scary? And just remember, you are allowed to grow. Your business will change because you change. And all in all, naming it is not about perfection. It's about being in alignment with who you are and who you want to be. So whether you're naming your business for the first time or quietly considering a rebrand, you are allowed to choose what supports you now. Thank you for listening. Please join our discussion group where we will be talking about all of these topics on the podcast and a different topic each week as well. And if you are interested in any of my services, please check out the new website, yourbirthbiz.com. Bye for now. Before you go, if anything in today's episode had you nodding along or thinking, yeah, that's me, don't leave it there. My free quiz helps you see what stage your birth biz is actually at and what's worth your energy right now, so you're not second guessing every decision or following advice that doesn't fit. It'll only take you a minute to complete, so click the link in the show notes and find out your birth biz stage and what your best next steps are.